That's right. He is Daily Faceoff prospect analyst Stephen Ellis. 1 month to the day, or should I say 5 weeks? I can't count on the calendar, to the NHL's draft. Round 1 in Nashville. It is on Wednesday night, June 21st. I'm good. I'm looking at the calendar now. Stephen Ellis, wanted to ask you about Cutter Gauthier. He's been one of the stars in the World Hockey Championships being played in Europe at this exact moment in time. And when you look at him being on a tear, is that a guy that looks to you like he's NHL ready for the Flyers? What would you do with someone like him?
For him, I still want to be patient here, especially when the Flyers. I don't think they even know what they want to be doing with their team the next couple of years. Especially listening to the last conversation there's a lot to be done there. But with Gauthier, it's just a guy that impresses so much, and I think he's got a really good future here. A lot of people will point out that look at the team that he's been putting points up against. He had a hat trick, and I think it was against France in a 9-0 win, but he still went out there, got 4 points, was one of the best players, and got 4 points in only playing 13 minutes. Like, that's still quite impressive no matter the competition. And, he hasn't played a ton in each game. The last game he played 16 minutes, and that was the most he's played. For the most part, it's been 11, 12, 13 minutes. But it's just the way he's been able to really click specifically with TJ Tynan, a guy that, spent the whole year in the AHL, but has really put himself on the map himself in this tournament. Him and Rocco Grimaldi have been very valuable for the Americans. But with Gauthier, a high pick by the Flyers last year, I think there's a very bright future here, and someone that could be one of the leaders, a guy that I think should be able to go out there and get 70 points. He's just so dynamic as a forward, offense all the time. And, if next year, if he goes back to Boston College, you're looking at guys like Will Smith and Ryan Leonard and Gabe Perreault. It's going to be a team where those guys will be the one line, but if you put Gauthier on the power play with them, they're going to be unstoppable. So I think he's got a good opportunity to play with some quality players next year, and that'd be the way to go. But when it comes to the Flyers and everything there, he's a great prospect. I think he's almost a steal from where they got him at 5th overall, just given the talent from that draft. I think he was one of the best players, maybe top 3 in that class, and he's going to be putting up some good numbers. And this tournament is really making me think, yeah, this guy's got all the tools to play pro hockey in the near future.
Yeah, the nice part is he's really not going to have anybody ahead of him when it comes time to Philly. I think that doorway is going to be wide open. Vancouver Canucks goaltending prospect Arturs Silovs, he's been lights out for Latvia. He did have a 5-game cameo last season with the Canucks, spent most of the year in Abbotsford. What have you liked about his game?
Well, he's just been kind of a workhorse for Latvia. I believe he started every single game in this tournament, and he played in at least every game in this tournament, at least. That game against Switzerland last night, he made 29 saves, but they were some high-quality chances, given that Switzerland was the best team in the tournament heading into that game. And for him to go out there and win the game for Latvia that qualified them for the quarterfinals at home is a big deal. You really don't want to be messing with a team that went out there and won their last 5 games, but just going out there, and he played outstanding against the Czechs, and he was the difference maker against Norway and against Slovenia. Those are not easy matchups for a team like Latvia, but for him to be as good as he was, I've seen him play international hockey at various levels, and this to me is the best I've seen him. So given the year we saw him have in the AHL and his little stint in the NHL, I am expecting him to, he should, I think, contend for backup duties next year in Vancouver.
All right, Stephen, got to ask you about Leo Carlson. He's having a borderline historic moment or tournament when it comes to draft eligible players at the World Hockey Championship. And this is always the time of year when scouts and scouting staff start to second guess themselves when it comes to looking at their list and their rankings. Lots of teams going through amateur scouting meetings right now at this exact moment in time. So when you look at Carlson and his impact in this world, is there anyone that's sitting there second guessing themselves when it comes to maybe how close he is to Adam Fantilli, given that, I don't know, people were saying maybe Fantilli is closer to Connor Bedard? Like, how does this all stack up, and where does Leo Carlson fit into the mix?
Well, for Carlson, he's got 5 points in 7 games, and I think for as good as his numbers are, he's got the 10 best numbers that we've seen from a draft eligible prospect at this tournament, beating guys like Ovechkin and Jack Hughes and Yager. Like those are big names, but they don't even compare with what Slavkovsky was able to do last year. But I think with Carlson, he got 2 goals against the Americans. He's looking very comfortable. It's not like he's getting all his points in the power play now. He's playing at all situations, and there's a lot of trust to put him as the number one centerman to go out there and play with Lucas Raymond and Jonathan Berggren, both Detroit players, because that was the top line. But they've got some guys that are very experienced that are sitting behind him. And with Carlson, he's getting a lot of work done in his ice time. He's not playing necessarily again a ton of power play, but he's playing he's playing shorthanded. He's just kind of doing everything they need of him, and I think that's impressive. From talking to some people that are at the tournament, they're saying, what, maybe the gap is very close between him and Fantilli, but there's some context I guess needed. Fantilli was the 13th forward for a bunch in this tournament. You're looking at Canada's lineup a bit deeper than Sweden. That's relying on a lot of players who have never played in the NHL. So a guy like Carlson, who is a top prospect, will get that extra boost in ice time. But with the way he's played, again, you look at the numbers; they're looking really solid, and he's been getting better every single game. And his best game of the tournament happens to be against the Americans. He was named best player for Sweden. That's the type of confidence you want to see here going forward. And, I do think Sweden should be able to win their first quarterfinal game. And then you've got 2 more games guaranteed. So at that point, we could see him maybe go 7, 8, 9 points. And maybe he's out there beating Slavkovsky, what he was able to do last year. But, I don't think any of the players here in the draft that are at this tournament are going to really change their status heading into the draft based off this tournament. But with Carlson, it's just good to see him so comfortable against men like we know he was able to do all year long.
The fact that we're even having the conversation, Stephen, given the year that Fantilli had 30 goals in 35 games as a freshman at Michigan, it speaks to how well Carlson is playing of late, because Fantilli, he'd probably be in a class of his own in any normal draft year without someone like Connor Bedard at the very top. Thanks to Stephen Ellis for joining us this week for the Next Wave. He's an absolute machine. Follow him on Twitter as well, Ellis Hockey, because, man, this guy watches so much hockey. It's actually scary. He's tweeting about it before I even get up in the morning, watching the Worlds over in Europe. Thanks to Stephen for having an eye on everything and this week's edition of The Next Wave.